Yes, this is the first live stream I've done for a while, so I'm just working out where all the buttons are and making sure everything is working again. So obviously I've started off in silence, but that's changed. I thought I'd try something a little bit different, just for, well, partly entertainment and partly information. And that is a live look at some items that I've got my hands on that may be of interest to people. I noticed that on the Backpacking Light website, it's been a while since I've done a product sort of overview and just had a look at some close details on a product. So I thought I'd start today with the latest or the current model of the Exped Lighting 45 and 60 litre rucksacks, one of these in fact. So I'll pop over to the other camera in a second, the other desk, to have a look at that. So if anybody has any questions as I go through, I'll try and catch the questions as best I can and answer any interesting points or anything that you might want to raise on the product. But generally I'm just going to have a quick look at it and go through the key features and give you some experience, my thoughts on the pros and cons. So let's get over to the other camera. Right, and here we have the Exped 45. I've got the 45 on the desk at the moment, which is fairly big, as you can see. The 60 is fractionally bigger, but I'll go through the actual details in a bit. So it's a ripstop Dyneema fabric pack. It's fairly lightweight. Again, I'll put all the technical specifications and the weights and the sizes and etc. up towards the end. But we're looking at 1180 grams for the 45 and 1220 for the 65 litre. So as large rucksacks go, it's fairly light, obviously. Let's just take this probably here and look generally across the front of the pack. I've only got a certain amount of desk space here, so we'll do our best. Okay, so as you can see, it comes with a crisscross ribbing webbing. Now, the last time I did a video on this particular rucksack was 9 years ago, so it's interesting to see what the difference is this time round. I noticed that they've changed the thickness of the webbing. The webbing's a little bit thicker and easier to work with and thread through and pull and grip. But obviously these compression straps are clipped in around the pack to the top here and down at the bottom inside the pocket there, so that you can connect them, disconnect them and adjust them accordingly. What is common with the entire design of this pack, let me just get to a different camera. Let's try this one. Yep. Is there this technique system they've got of taking up the slack is of the webbing straps, which is basically a Velcro tab, which you then, to take up the slack and the loose ends of the webbing, you roll up and then neatly clip away around the tab. He says, trying to do this and look at the camera at the same time, around the webbing. Now, exactly what's just happened, there we go, as I was demonstrating that and it fell out of my hands. That is one of the positives and also one of the negatives. Positives are that it will tidy any loose end of the strap up like that. The negative being it is a really fiddly little thing to do with Velcro, and as we all know, when you've got gloves on generally, Velcro tends to stick to anything. So it tends to be a little bit annoying sometimes that you're trying to do this with gloves on, particularly with winter, the way the temperature is today. That will just annoy you, I'm sure. If you have any questions as we go through this, by all means, please do drop them in the chat, and I'll do my best to answer them. Right, let's go to the overhead again. There we go. Right. So let's get through these features. So we have the crisscross compression webbing, which is removable. We have a lid closure system, which closes in a variety of ways. Tilt that towards the camera there. First of all, you have a lash strap, which is attached here, that goes over the top to a hook there, which hooks onto a loop. Again, all these tabs now have got additional grippers on them, which is quite good. And that is your lash strap, which closes across the top to keep the lid closed, and also if you've got anything hanging over the top like a jacket or whatever, that's another way of keeping it obviously attached. And then in addition to that, around the sides we have a roll top enclosure here, and the sides have got these can you see that? Yeah, these clips and tensioners which live inside the pocket at the bottom there. You don't have to use these, because you can of course roll the lid closed and close them with a male and female connector there, which is another way of doing it. Obviously, what that allows really is when you do a restock or something and the rucksack increases in capacity, it allows you to not have so much roll top over the top, so that you can obviously store the extra food parcel or whatever you've picked up, and then as you eat it and reduce the capacity, you can crunch it back down. So that's the closure system. Now, the material this is made from, I'm just going to close this down just to make it easier to move around the desk. The material this is made from has got a hydrostatic head of 1500 mil, which in all honesty is the hydrostatic head that's used sometimes on some shelters. So it's pretty water resistant. Now, there's a difference between waterproof and water resistant. Basically, because obviously there are holes in the structure, particularly at the top and at the side, you can't class this as waterproof. However, because it will resist quite heavily the water, it is a fairly high water resistance. But I would always say for belt and braces, have your sleeping equipment or anything that you guarantee needs to be kept dry in a roll top waterproof bag stuffed inside. Let's continue around the rucksack. So let's go to the side pockets. So the side pockets, as you can see, fairly generous. They easily hold a good Nalgene bottle or a flask or something similar in there, a good stuff. There are little holes here, and you can see that's where the webbing is attached. That is the crisscross compression webbing, and that allows the webbing to be re-threaded, so it goes through the hole. So in other words, you can put something inside the pocket, or it can go over the top of the hole should you wish it to do so, and compress whatever's in there. It could be perhaps you put your shelter in there or whatever. At the base of the pack, a bit of a strange construction, but at the base of the pack, can you see here? Yeah, right. So we've got 4 tabs, one here, one little one there, over here and over there. And what people sometimes do is put a figure of 8 cross shock cord or normal cord or something similar across there, so that their perhaps concertinaed sleeping pad, one of the foam ones, could go in there and be held on the bottom of the pack, because it's quite a bulky item, so it makes more sense for it to be outside the pack than inside the pack. The other thing that it does allow you to do, that when the pack is empty, you can actually clip this to this by using, for example, some of these, I call them toy carabiners. They're not the climbing carabiners, just the little mini ones you might use for your keyring or whatever, or you can get the even smaller ones, and that would clip the base together, and obviously narrow down the capacity of the pack, which then makes the pack more a day pack size than the size that it currently is at the moment, which is this is the 45 litre. I'm a bit confused over these tabs. They tend the webbing that's on these tabs is much thinner than the webbing that's on the main compression structure, and as you can see, the sliders move far too easily, and in actual fact the tabs, if I pulled that, would pull straight through the tabs. So I'm not too sure what they're intended for, because I wouldn't want to trust anything of any importance underneath these loops and strap them down, because I think that very quickly the material would slide through. So that is the base. Now coming to the top of the pack, let's try not to knock the computer off the desk. Let's bring that towards the camera. So we've got a bit of a strange situation. This pocket is always quite confusing for a lot of people. So you have a waterproof zip and access to this pocket here, which in actual fact will probably go down 2/3 of the pack. We'll see that inside in a second. So what you'd want to put in there, because obviously it's against your back, the shoulder harness system here, as you can see, you wouldn't want to put anything too bulky in there. And even with, I've just got pillows inside this rucksack at the moment, even with pillows inside this rucksack, it actually is a very, very tight pocket. So you wouldn't want to put anything bulky or sharp like, I don't know, car keys or that type of thing, or a camera or a GPS system or anything inside there. It just wouldn't work inside that pocket. So I'm not too sure what the intention is for from the designer's point of view of how they intend you to use that pocket. I'll come to the inside of the pack in a second. Let's just come on to the shoulder harness and hip belt. Now, it's got a fairly well padded shoulder harness. That's definitely increased over the years, which is good to see. And it's has a great reputation for having a very, very stiff and padded hip belt and lumbar section there. Now the pack, as you probably know, is adjustable. So the back length is adjustable and it's fairly easy to do. At the moment I've got it pretty well at its extremities here because I've got a long back and I was putting it on. But to adjust it, you pull off the lumbar pack here. There is a slider behind this section of the hip belt, and if I wanted to bring that down to a shorter length, I'll just pull this. You see it says L for large there. Pull this down, M for medium, and obviously there's an S for small there, and that basically pulls the shoulder harness down. So if you are a short back length, that gets adjusted there. The tab that I'm pulling at the moment in my right hand pulls it taut, tucks out the way, that sits over the top, and you therefore can pass that to somebody who's a shorter back length. As I said, the hip belt's extremely tough and very well padded. It's got the tensioning system comes in from the waist, from either side of you, rather than out from the center, which I find a much better way of tensioning the hip belt. And you've got some reasonable sized pockets either side. They're not stretch fabric, so they won't accommodate, I say, a camera or whatever you might force in there, but there's certainly reasonable size pockets there. I'll come on to some of the negatives at the end, because there are a few things here that you need to be aware of, particularly if you're a shorter person. Going back to the adjusters, again, you've got reasonable adjusters here, thumb loops on the shoulder harness, which is good, and a couple of extra daisy chain or clips are areas where that you can clip either your hydration system if you're using a bladder, or perhaps glasses or a camera, or other accessories. A phone perhaps is another one, obviously. You have the chest brace, which of course is adjustable, again with this rollover tab business that goes on here, so that the tab rolls over. and tucks out of the way. Hydration was always something with the earlier models which was a bit strange, as in there wasn't a hydration hole, but I notice now they've got a hydration exit on both the left and the right, which makes life a lot easier for people wanting to exit the pipe. In their first iteration of the model, the pipe came out at the top there, which was a bit bizarre to say the least. Right, I think I've covered most of the key things about the back system and the structure. I'm just going to pop inside it. It might be a little bit messy for a second, as I need to take out one of these pillows. Right, I don't know if you can see that. Where's the camera? So this is the other side of that pocket that I showed you there. So this is a double-sided pocket, and as you can see, it looks fairly small. That's because I folded it in half, because at the top of the T-bar section there are a couple of tabs which work with either tucking this pocket and folding it in half, or with a hydration system. So if you've got a hydration system there, it's either usually supported by a central tab, which is that one there, or you can link it with these two little tabs here, and that can sit down the back. Now, as you can see, that is the size of the back pocket. So that side is the side that you access from inside the pack, and that is the depth of the pocket that you access with the external zip from the outside of the pack. Personally, I find that to be great. It's nice to have a big pocket. However, when the rucksack is full, it's very, very difficult to get your hand down inside this pocket when you've got the compression of everything else obviously on top of, against you. So it's something to take into account. It's useful to have. It might be ideal for, I don't know, maps or printed maps, or whatever, or flat items, book, possibly a Kindle, that type of thing. But you wouldn't want to put anything too big and bulky, and also you wouldn't want to put anything with that's got sharp edges on it, because obviously it's a thick mesh here. You can see that it's a mesh, as opposed to, where are we? Wrong way. That way. There you go. A mesh, as opposed to a solid material. So it's liable to catch, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll just tuck that out of the way. So like I say, the compression system on the outside here is vital to making the bag taut, so that when you have less than a full pack, you want to obviously prevent any small items moving around, which will make the pack unstable and therefore make you unstable. So the compression system is quite good from that point of view. The problem I have, or when I used the 60 litre version on a long trip, was I found that I had lots of frustration with these tabs. And I spoke to the designer at Exped many years ago, and his reply was basically, once you know how you use the pack to its best for your particular needs, is to cut excess tabs off. Which makes a lot of sense, because after a while I found that particularly the longer tabs of the compression units, I found them very, very frustrating. In fact, they've shortened the tabs down now actually, which is quite good. So the excess tab isn't very long, it's only that long, which is actually quite good. So I think that is most of the things I wanted to say. The other thing that is probably vital, I think, to be aware of, if you're looking at this rucksack and you are a small to medium back length, particularly women, because they do a women's version as well, The one thing that tends to bother people most of all about this metal stay that's down the middle is that the shorter you are, the more prominent this part of the stay is above your head. So if I just change to the other camera, so that the rucksack, if the rucksack is sort of here on you, that it's very easy for the stay to get in the way when you're looking up. Now, Rose, my wife, who's only 5'4", so she had this pack at the shorter back length. She found it incredibly frustrating when she had her hair in a ponytail with a cap on, that she couldn't really look up at all. So she found herself sort of fixed. So if that's one negative to take into consideration for shorter people, that's that with this pack. The other thing with the stay itself that comes down the middle here, they've changed this stay. The first one they had was much thinner and much more pliable, and I think that caused more problems than it solved. I've just tried this pack on. I've got a slight curvature at the top of my shoulders, typical of many tall people, and in the previous pack I found the stay got in the way quite considerably, but this time round it didn't bother me at all. So they've obviously changed the shape of this particular stay to be more effective and practical for people with different body types. So that's quite useful. I don't think there's anything else that I think you necessarily need to be aware of. As I say, the pack itself is really good. The quality of the material is really good. They're using a lot of recycled materials these days. In fact, I must put that up on the screen. And the history, the pedigree of the pack, and obviously the company Exped is exceedingly good. So it's well worth it. But I would just say take those couple of points in mind. If you're a shorter person, then just check how you feel about the stay once you've adjusted the pack to be the size that you need it to be. And also the additional tabs, it's these type of things here on the side. Again, let's just go to the bottom camera. Let's go to this one. These excessive, there we go, amounts of material there that are attached to these tabs tend to be quite frustrating. So once you've decided how often or what length is ideal for you and your needs, then, as they say, you can cut them off. Don't forget to use a hot knife when you do that, and cut these off to suit the needs, so you're only left with a small amount of material rather than a long length of material that's just going to blow around in the wind and catch you in the face, which is extremely frustrating. Let us just look at the what are we doing? Looking at the sustainability issue, and also the oh yes, there's actually something else I need to mention as well, thinking about it. Right, let's just go back to that camera. Okay, the one thing that obviously you'll notice and is quite important to a lot of people, myself included, is there is no front pocket to the pack. Which is very frustrating. However, they do have a flash pocket accessory, which isn't very expensive, which is this, which is a mesh pocket accessory for the rucksack, and that provides quite a reasonable pocket to clip into the clips which are already here. It's got a couple of elasticated clips at the top and the same at the bottom, and it clips into place wherever you want it to go on the pack. This actually is also quite a good useful accessory for other rucksacks as well, if you want a quick pocket to attach to the outside of the bag and then fold away when it's not in use. So that's quite a useful accessory, and that's only a few pounds, so that's well worth it. Looking at the technical details, let's just quickly go through that. There's no questions coming on the live, which is fine by me. So 45 litres, hip belt size 87 to 145 centimetres. You can see dimensions there. The 60 litre is only 3 or 4 centimetres larger. Both have got a suggested carrying weight of 24 kilos, which is quite considerable really. I generally find it's a comfortable carry around 15 to 18 kilos. And the back length there, you need to measure your back length obviously to get yourself sorted to make sure the pack is within the range that suits you. Both the 60 litre and the 45 litre have got the same sort of key back lengths and hip belts, so there's no difference there. And as I say, the main fabric and the base fabric, which is the much tougher 600 denier polyester, has got a hydrostatic head of 1500 millimeters on it, which is quite acceptable for a lot of tents, let alone a rucksack. So I hope that's helped as a little bit of an overview to a live look at a product. I don't think there's anything else immediately I can think of to assist you in any way in your decisions about what rucksack to get. But it's also, this particular live stream is also a bit of an experiment for me to see if I can do demonstrations like this and do it live, and obviously answer any questions as we go along. But obviously I appreciate that it's 12:30 in the morning on a, what day is it today? Thursday, isn't it? On a Thursday, so not many people are going to be watching live, but perhaps you'll watch it again later. If there's any questions, obviously you know where to contact me, so drop me a line on the outdoor station or backpacking light, and I'll do my best to answer any questions. But all in all, lightweight rucksack, pretty water resistant, few little quirks, but easily solvable to give you a good pack for a long distance hike. So if I can press the right button, that's the end of this particular stream. And yeah, I haven't got the right button here. So I'll go and press it on the other machine. Right, let's have a go. So as I say, thanks very much for watching. I hope it's been of some use to you, and catch you next time. Bye then.